And so the thing I want to say is, what would you like readers to take from this book, having read
I would hope people are inspired to think about a couple of different things. On the one level, this is the end of the series, and it's a romance, but it's also tying up this family's story. And the family story is very central. And I hope that it feels satisfying if you read the series from beginning to end, that there's an arc to the whole series. And so I hope that feels satisfying. And for me, a lot of times the focus on the romance relationship, we see a lot of like wonderful families and wonderful found families, but it almost feels like there's a vacuum. Like the romance is in a vacuum where there's happiness all around. There are just functional relationships. And then like the romance has to figure itself out. And I was really interested in exploring a family that they all love each other. They all want to be happy, but they, are encountering the things that we encounter, and they have to kind of figure out how to move forward. And then with this book specifically, my big theme that I was writing towards was this idea of kind of generational change and how Martin had progressive ideas as a young man. He's been living by his ideals. He's been trying to advocate for change. And now, as a 60-something-year-old man, he feels like somehow his ideas aren't enough to the next generation who are demanding even more. And can we get out of our own way? Is that natural? Is it okay for him to be imperfect? There are a lot of things that even when I reread it and get to the end, I'm like, oh, but Martin, you're still doing this. but, but I think, we're all human. We're never going to be perfect. Is that okay? And yeah, the general series question is, well, what does it mean to have ideals and try to live by them? And so hopefully there are some thoughts around that.
And I think that's one of the nicest things about it. And I think the fact that this book in particular really delves into the concept of the utopian community in a really, really big way is one of the nicer aspects of that question of how do you hold to your ideals, and that things cannot necessarily be perfectly achieved, whether that be in your professional work or your personal life. And you see that there's still things with some of his children where there's bitterness that he didn't even realize had been festering for quite some time. And that is one of the aspects that I think illustrates that even though things are good, they're never perfect. And if they're perfect, they're boring. And so that's, one of the things that you look at in this book in particular and see very nicely illustrated is that evolution and that continuing pathway, and the sense that you have that it will continue beyond the book. They're not done. They're still figuring it out. And that's one of the nicest aspects that we have
Thank
within
you.
it. So I'm gonna just say this was an incredibly enjoyable read. I would like to just share maybe my favorite quote from the book, if I
I'd
may.
love
It's
that.
very short, so I can do that. It's from Martha's perspective. She had craved Martin for weeks, had been beside him for hours, had kissed him for minutes, and it took only the sweetest amount of time for her body to shatter into the deepest orgasm of her life. And I think that's such a nice summation of the path of the book. Weeks, hours, minutes, only a sweet amount of time, because that's really Martin and Martha's trajectory, right? They have been through the weeks and the hours and the minutes, and now they're hitting at this very late point in their life the sweetest amount of time.
Hmm.
And that's one of the nicest things about The Widower Without a Will.
Aw. Thank you so much, Mary Lynn.